Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
We begin tonight with COVID cases spiking in New York after record lows. It's a similar story around the country, and more often than not, areas with lower vaccination rates are seeing a higher case count. Big Fox's Matt Kleindienst takes a look at the vaccination rate and cases in our area.
Good evening, Ann. Local health officials continue to urge residents to get vaccinated when they can, as New York saw an over 60% increase in new COVID cases.
COVID is still active. It is still present.
As New York continues to reopen, new COVID cases have popped up throughout the state. And while Steuben County still has an infection rate of 0.3%, there is still a concern with the county vaccination rate hovering just over 50%.
That does remain a concern, especially as you know, we are wary of the Delta variant.
According to Health Director Darlene Smith, Steuben County currently has 14 active cases of COVID-19, with most of them infecting unvaccinated residents. To date, the Delta variant hasn't been found in the county. However, Smith says unvaccinated residents are still very much susceptible.
They are at risk to not only becoming positive with COVID, but potentially with the Delta variant.
Smith continues to urge residents to get vaccinated, saying they will be offered a good level of protection even if they get the virus.
The whole point of the vaccine is to prevent serious illness, leading to hospitalization for those folks, or even death. That's the protection that those who are vaccinated can be assured that they will have.
As of last week, there are 238 Delta cases throughout New York. Matt Kleindienst, Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
New York City public school students will need to wear masks when they return to school in the fall. Sharon Crowley has more on the mayor's decision and what one doctor thinks about it.
Do you like wearing a mask in the classroom, or is it a pain?
It's okay. I could still breathe.
8-year-old Bianca and every other New York City public school student will need to wear masks in the classroom when they return to school in the fall.
I think it's a good idea. I don't know if everyone's vaccinated, so it's better to be safe than sorry.
I'm vaccinated myself, but he's too young to be vaccinated, so just to be on the safe side, I think it's a good deal.
Just taking the mask off right now, I think it would be too risky.
Mayor de Blasio says parents and kids should plan on keeping faces covered against COVID-19, even though the infection rates inside school buildings remains low.
For now, we're sticking with the idea that wearing the masks is a smart thing to do.
The mayor's call to keep on masks goes against the most recent CDC guidance. Last week, the CDC said students who are fully vaccinated can go without masks in the classroom.
For now, assume we're wearing masks, but that could change as we get closer.
Dr. Kathy Ward is a pediatrician here in New York City. She thinks the mayor should reconsider his position mandating masks in the classroom.
I think we need to side with the CDC on this one. My concern as a pediatrician, it's going to make them more susceptible to other germs because they're touching a lot. They might get wet from their saliva if they cough or sneeze into it. I think that we're interfering with their social connections. I think it's enhancing children's anxiety because there's a lot to say for facial interaction, facial recognition.
Wegmans is slowly bringing back its popular hot and cold food bars after closing them during the pandemic. The self-serve buffets were first reintroduced at select stores in the Rochester area. The grocery store chain plans to roll out its buffet reopenings over the next few weeks. However, it is unclear when the food bars will return to southern tier locations. The Wineglass Marathon will welcome back runners and spectators this October. This will be the first time the race is held in person in nearly 2 years. In a statement, race organizers say it'll be great to have runners and spectators back in Corning after last year's virtual marathon. The 40th annual Wineglass Marathon will be held on October 3rd. A Democratic exodus in the Texas State House. More than 50 House Democratic members in Texas left the state for Washington to keep Republicans from reaching the quorum needed to pass the state's voting bill. Natalie He has more.
We started out the special session with promises that there would be compromises, there would be changes to the bill, that they would work with us. After a 24-hour hearing, almost 500 witnesses testified. Overwhelmingly in opposition. All efforts to make things a little bit better were rejected without question.
It was the last straw for Texas House Democrats as more than 50 of the 67 members left the state Monday to head to Washington, D.C. State Representative Jean Wu was among the group that boarded flights Monday afternoon in an attempt to block a sweeping GOP bill that would restrict voting.
This is actually really scary for us. For a lot of us, we've just spent the last 6 months away from our families and not making money at home. This is the sacrifice that we're willing to make. This is not just about politics. If Black and brown and poor and immigrant communities no longer have a voice, they have their voices shut, then they don't matter anymore.
The bill in question would ban drive-through voting, add new ID requirements to absentee ballots, as well as prohibit local election officials from sending mail-in ballot applications to voters unless requested. But this isn't the first walkout. Less than a month ago, Democrats left during the regular session to prevent a vote.
Democrats are in a difficult position because Governor Abbott can call as many 30-day special sessions as he wants between now and January of 2023.
Political analyst Mark Jones believes this may not last long.
We're likely to see Democrats cave sooner rather than later once they've made their political point. So once they've put a spotlight on Texas, which they're doing today, once they maybe have extracted some concessions on the legislation, and once they have raised money from a new set of donors they can tap again in 2022.
Governor Greg Abbott now calling on his Democratic colleagues to come back to work.
This is costing taxpayer money, but even worse is wreaking damage on your community. There are important issues that we wanted to get past.
Andrew Brown's estate is seeking $30 million from officials who were on the scene during his death in May. Deputies in North Carolina shot the 42-year-old to death while attempting to serve him with warrants. The civil rights lawsuit, set to be filed in federal court, names 2 county sheriffs and the deputies present when the incident took place as defendants. The county district attorney previously decided officers were justified in shooting Brown because he drove at them recklessly while trying to flee. His family called that decision, quote, an insult and a slap in the face. Another heat wave is fueling wildfires up and down the West Coast this week, the flames forcing evacuations in Oregon and California. William LaJeunesse has more.
Wildfire season is in full effect across the western U.S., with dozens of fires burning in 10 states. The Bootleg Fire in southern Oregon is the largest. At more than 153,000 acres, it threatens a major power grid between the Pacific Northwest and California.
This is a big fire. It's got a big need for a lot of resources and a lot of people doing a lot of hard work.
In California, more than 142,000 acres burned this year, 3 times more than this time last year. The Beckworth Complex fire is the largest in the state, burning more than 140 square miles. And not far from Yosemite National Park, the River Fire forced mandatory evacuations.
I saw a fire truck go by, so it's like repeated PTSD. Second one went by. I thought, we need to go. So we finished up our meal and went.
We packed everything up last night even and just set it up at the door.
The western fires are fueled by a severe drought and record-breaking heat. The National Weather Service says the current heat wave, the third this summer, peaked in many areas, but parts of California and Nevada could still see triple-digit temperatures through today.
This is really the new normal. These weather events are becoming more and more common and more frequent.
States are examining their response to this drought and this extreme weather, as Oregon blamed the heat for 116 fatalities, Washington State 91. Cooler temperatures later this week should also help firefighters. In Los Angeles, William LaJeunesse, Fox News.
Boeing has a new headache for its 787 Dreamliner. The manufacturer announced some of the planes are having an issue with fuselage segment joints. Those joints are required to meet precise standards that go down to a fraction of an inch. Boeing says it worked with the Federal Aviation Administration to correct the problem and has developed a fix. The company is planning to apply that fix to the roughly 100 Dreamliners it has not yet delivered. Efforts to wipe out world hunger by 2030 are now at critical risk. That is according to the latest report from the United Nations, which cites dramatic increases in the number of people facing hunger on a daily basis. Kevin Cork has more on what's causing the crisis and who is most at risk.
Alarming new data from the United Nations finds at least 811 million people around the world struggled with hunger during 2020, roughly 118 million more than the year before. And the problem isn't just isolated to one region.
418 million people are more undernourished in Asia,
and around 282 million people are more undernourished in Africa. And in Latin America, we also seen an increase to 9.1% of the population being undernourished today.
But what exactly contributes to a hunger crisis? Experts point to three main areas:
conflict, climate extremes, and economic downturns.
And officials say roadblocks caused by COVID-19 only made tackling these hurdles more challenging, stressing more needs to be done to prevent wars, reduce impacts of climate change, and help make healthier foods more affordable and available to combat rising hunger. But the problem doesn't just include those who don't have enough to eat. The UN says billions of people are getting food but are still malnourished because they don't have access to a balanced diet.
We have 3 billion people that don't have access to healthy diets. We have significant increase in stunting and overweight and obesity.
The United Nations calls this crisis unacceptable, noting that children are usually the ones most impacted by food insecurity. In Washington, I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
Still ahead tonight, a man who has spent the better part of 3 months battling and almost losing his fight against COVID-19, making a desperate plea.
I've been in this hospital this whole time. I've been in the hospital for 76 days now.
Hear from one COVID survivor who says he plans to get the vaccine after he recovers and why everyone should do the same.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Tonight's Big Fox forecast is brought to you by William Mattar. Good evening, everyone. If you thought it was a little bit stifling today, it wasn't your imagination. It was a lot warmer, and our heat indices were well into the 90s. So it was muggy, it was warm. It was about 5 degrees warmer in Elmira, 4 degrees warmer in Corning, but in Bath and Watkins Glen, it was about 7 degrees warmer. For tomorrow, we still are in that warm sector of this storm system. There will be a few showers that could be coming across our area. In addition to that, there could be a few thunderstorms as well that could bring some drenching rain for your Wednesday. But I think we're going to be moving toward a drier period as we head toward the end of the week. So that's something to look forward to. But it is quite humid outside with dew points in the 70s. Anything above 65 starts to feel muggy, and then in the 70s it starts to feel a little bit uncomfortable. For tomorrow, temperature readings will be in the 70s early in the day. We warm up to around 81 by 2 o'clock, so it's not going to be quite as warm as it was today, but it is going to be muggy, and so these temperatures are going to feel a little bit about 5 to 10 degrees warmer than the actual reading. Our dew points will stay in the upper 60s, so it's not going to be as stifling as it was today, but still very muggy. And then in the late afternoon, we drop down into the 70s. Again, we do have chances of showers and thunderstorms throughout the day as well. As we make our way into early tomorrow for your morning commute, it looks like there will be a few showers, possibly a few thunderstorms, and then a little bit more widespread rain by noon. And that's going to keep those temperatures in the lower 80s for most of our hometowns. So at noon, a lot of rain, and this will continue through about 4 or 5 in the afternoon before it presses away. Drier conditions in the evening hours, and I think we'll start off dry on Thursday, but in the overnight, there could be a stray shower that moves through, and that's the situation on Friday as well. So mainly dry finally on Thursday, and that dry air or drier conditions will last through your Friday, at least for the early part of the day. But we have another storm system that will be arriving in our area by the end of the week. That low pressure system will be in the Midwest tomorrow, but then this low will continue to move to the east, and that's going to bring our next chances of rain. For tonight, lows will drop down to around 68 degrees, highs tomorrow around 81. In Corning, 79 degrees. In Perkinsville, Bath, around 79 degrees as well, but 83 degrees in Watkins Glen, with scattered showers and thunderstorms, especially in the afternoon. So a little bit more sunshine on Thursday and Friday means those temperatures will be climbing right back up, close to around 90 degrees. It will be muggy on Friday, and then another system comes in. It will bring a few drenching thunderstorms, and temperatures will be a little bit cooler.
A man who has spent the better part of 3 months battling and almost losing the fight against COVID-19 has a desperate plea. He wants to make sure everyone gets vaccinated. That's something the 38-year-old says he's also planning to do. Gabriel Vidal has the story.
And I don't want nobody to go through what I've been through.
This was 38-year-old Terrell Brown's reality for the last 3 months.
I've been in this hospital this whole time. I've been in the hospital for 76 days now.
The father of 2 got COVID-19 on his birthday, April 13th. The virus quickly threatened his life.
From April 26th all the way to like the second week of June, I don't remember anything. I was in a coma. It was a lot of dark times then.
He says his heart stopped 3 times throughout his treatment.
They gave me a 5% chance of living. And then they didn't give up on me. And out of nowhere, I just started getting better.
A blessing, he says, that could have been avoided had he gotten the COVID-19 vaccine.
Before I got sick, I was still like in the decision-making process. I was on the fence. Some days I was like, I felt like I need to get it. Then some days it's just like, I was like, no, I don't need it because I never get sick, and all this time I haven't got sick. But like now, after experiencing what I experienced, I'm definitely getting it.
Brown urges anyone who hasn't gotten the COVID-19 vaccine to learn from the battle he still faces.
I had to learn how to walk again. We take advantage of like simple things in life, like going to the bathroom and brushing your teeth. I have trouble doing all that now. So I highly recommend everybody to get the vaccines and really protect themselves, because this is no joke.
A Seattle doctor is taking action after she says she was placed on United Airlines' no-fly list. She says the trouble started after she changed her daughter's diaper on the plane. Kara Kostanich has the story.
It was a diaper, baby's poop.
Dr. Farah Khan arriving home in Seattle today, still outraged about a United Airlines flight she took on regional carrier Mesa Airlines with her family just 3 days ago. She says the trouble began with the flight attendant after she changed her daughter's diaper in the lavatory.
He said, did you just leave a diaper in the back of the plane? You can't do that. It's a biohazard.
So Khan says, humiliated, she fished the diaper out of the trash, but was later told by a crew member that's where the diaper needed to be disposed of. It was 3 hours later when the third-generation South Asian American Muslim had checked into her hotel room, and she says she got multiple calls on her phone from a person who said they worked for United Airlines.
So I picked up, and he said, because of a biohazard incident on the plane, you've been placed on the no-fly list.
Khan says the conversation was soon laced with hatred and profanity.
It violates every level of professionalism, but it's also a violation of this woman's privacy and her civil rights.
United Airlines says they are working with Mesa Airlines and directed us to their team, who told us this by statement. The details, as described by our customer, do not meet the high standards that Mesa sets for our flight attendants, and we are reviewing the matter. Khan, an MIT graduate, says she's scared for her family's safety.
I don't know how to protect my family from somebody who seems clearly unhinged. So what do I do?
Khan has filed formal complaints with United, the FAA, and has also contacted police. She says she doesn't want this to happen to anyone else.
And I just pray that no other family goes through what we went through.
They say lightning doesn't strike twice in the same place, but you don't want it to even strike once when you're out hitting golf balls. In this instance involving a group of teens, lightning didn't just strike, it struck one of the golf balls. John Paul Barajas has the amazing video.
It's like, what are the odds for a small ball to get struck by lightning?
The golf swing and golf ball gone viral. One more swing before we go has now turned into a moment a group of teens and their little brother will never forget. And it was all caught on camera.
All right, let me hit this last shot. And I told her to record it.
and then I swung it, and the next thing you know, the lightning's coming out of the sky, hitting the ball.
And the initial shock, pun intended, Omaze Gomez and his friends had no idea what they caught on video. They were more concerned about trying to get to safety after the lightning bolt boomed just feet away from their bay at Top Golf at the rim.
Right after the lightning hit, the whole place shook, the lights were flickering, the computers reset and everything.
It could have hit me, it could have hit her, it could have hit any of us. It was actually pretty scary after I was thinking about it for a while.
Not to mention, Omaze was holding essentially a lightning rod and a golf club in his follow-through swing. But as their nerves settled, they went back to watch. The teens say they record everything for the memories. These just a few more clips from that fun-turned-frightful May Friday night before they took the one that's gotten attention worldwide, from Daily Mail, Barstool, to ESPN UK.
Trying to flip the camera, because my fingers are wet from the rain, and then flipped it, got it, and now we're blown up.
Yeah.
Like the ball.
Just like the ball.
The group all smiles now, and Omaze swears if it wasn't for the lightning, the ball was going over the fence.
Get your shoulders loose, you know. You're just looking at the ball. You go back, and boom, and it's gone.
Or it gets struck by lightning.
Yeah, and get struck by lightning.
Mattel is unveiling a Naomi Osaka role model Barbie. The doll comes with a visor, tennis racket, tennis ball, sweatband, dress, shoes, and doll stand. The dress she's wearing is the same one Osaka wore at the Australian Open in 2020. The 23-year-old is not just a four-time Grand Slam tennis champion, she's an advocate for mental health awareness and social justice. Mattel is selling Osaka's doll for $30. It's already out of stock online. In June, Osaka withdrew from the French Open and Wimbledon to prioritize her mental health. She's set to represent Japan at the Olympic Games in Tokyo later this month. Let's take a look at some entertainment news, from television to the movies, from Tinseltown to the French Riviera. Here's David Daniel with the Hollywood Minute.
Jennifer Lopez has her eyes on the classics. She's agreed to help develop original TV series and films based on Concord Theatrical's huge catalog of stage musicals, which includes the works of Rodgers and Hammerstein. Lopez has the option to star in at least one of the projects as part of the deal. Cedric the Entertainer is heading to the Emmy Awards. The comedian, actor, and producer will serve as Emmy's host for the first time as the show returns to a live, in-person format with a limited audience of nominees and their guests. The 72nd Emmy Awards are set for September 19th in Los Angeles.
Arthur Howitzer Jr. transformed the series of travelogue columns into the French Dispatch.
The French Dispatch is a hit at Cannes. Wes Anderson's star-studded ensemble film about an American newspaper in a French city drew one of the longest standing ovations so far at this year's Film Fest. According to Variety, 9 minutes. The film is due in U.S. theaters on October 22nd. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
We want to leave you with a smile tonight and maybe even rekindle a childhood dream. You could be one of the first everyday citizens to go to space. Virgin Galactic is teaming up with Omaze for the chance to win a seat on one of the company's first commercial voyages to space. One winner and a guest can rocket more than 50 miles above Earth and experience zero gravity for a few minutes. Anyone over the age of 18 can enter on Omaze.com through August 31st. Each $10 donation is equivalent to 100 entries. The money supports the nonprofit Space for Humanity, which aims to expand access to space. Virgin Galactic hasn't released details on when the flight will take place. Virgin CEO Richard Branson successfully returned from a test flight on the VSS Unity on Sunday. Sounds like fun. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a good night, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.